I didn't know why she was standing there. I'm like, what's going on? No,
No,
we're
we're
going
gonna
to start
start
over. Sorry, Jerry. Yep. So Jean, if you want to count down 5 or,
It's been 5.
yep, go ahead.
Good morning. It's Wednesday, September 14th, and this is a meeting of the Shrewsbury Council on Aging. We are meeting here at the town offices, the Board of Selectmen's room, and we are going to introduce the members of the board. We have some new members, so I would ask that each of you introduce and say a little bit about yourselves. I also want to state that the board does follow the open meeting law and that Robert's Rules of Order are also used. We can start our introductions perhaps with Renee.
Hi, I'm Renee D'Argento, Outreach Coordinator for the Council on Aging since August 2nd of 2021. Thank you.
Christine Moriarty, Assistant Director. I've been with the Council on Aging since, I forgot already, April of 2020.
Holly Luke, I'm the Council on Aging Director. I've been here since January 2020.
Jean Campanello, I'm Vice Chair of the Council on Aging, and I've been a board member for 2 years. A long-term resident of Shrewsbury and just enjoy being involved in the activities of the town.
I'm Betsy Zweig, and I'm the secretary of the board, and I've been on the board for a little under 3 years.
Alex Roman, I'm retired. I've lived in Shrewsbury about 14 years, and I've been on the board since April.
I'm Lori Jones, and we started together in April. I'm a longtime resident, about, I think, 29 years this fall, and wanting to give back, enjoying being a part of this.
Hi, this is Meenu Sharma. I'm a resident of Shrewsbury since 2001, and it's my first time getting involved in the town, work, how town works, and really enjoying it. Thanks, everyone.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Arun Subramaniam, been a resident from 2013. Greatly look forward to this opportunity to be part of this. I'm a new board member here.
Thank you. So it's good to have new members. And oh, Jerry, we have with us a representative from the Friends of the Council on Aging, and the Friends is the body that is a fundraiser for us. And would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Jerry Tongol. I've been a member of the Friends Board for about 5-6 years, and I'm a 32-year resident of Shrewsbury.
Thank you. So why don't we call the meeting to order, and I would like to review or request the acceptance of the August minutes. Are there any additions, corrections? If there are none, I would I would accept a motion to accept the minutes of the August meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Yep.
Opposed?
Aye.
So moved. Jerry is here as a Friends representative for the newer members. The Friends usually attend our meetings and just inform us of the activities that they are engaged in so that we can kind of work together with them. Jerry?
Oh, wow, put me on the spot right away. I've been working with all of the activities with the Friends for, probably about 6 years. We're looking forward to the Spirit of Shrewsbury in the end of September on the 24th and 25th. And I think Jean is going to talk a little bit more about transportation to and from the site, because we're having a luncheon on Sunday for anybody in town. It used to be for 90-year-olds and over, but now it's open to anybody. So it's a very light luncheon. It's not going to be anything like we had yesterday, which was really good.
Not exactly anybody. They have to be a Shrewsbury senior.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
I wasn't,
Yes.
my brain is not
Yep.
working. Doesn't work before 10.
60 and over.
Thank you,
Yep.
Holly.
You're welcome.
I have had a request from Maria Smith, who is the president of the Friends, asking if the council could provide vans on Sunday to be able to transport seniors from either Francis Garden and/or the Towers to the parade luncheon, and then have the ability, if needed, to bring them back. I know Holly and I talked a little bit about it, but then we never really connected on the.
Yep.
Go
So,
ahead.
so if I can, so we are offering transportation on Saturday, September 24th, as well as Sunday, September 25th. The 24th is from getting from point A from one of the sides of the Spirit of Shrewsbury to the other. So that might mean wherever the school locations are that they're going to. I don't have the map in front of me. On Sunday, it is the senior tea right after the parade. So we will be transporting people from, I believe it's just the town hall over to the senior center. So not a big distance, but, so this will require staff members, senior council on aging staff members to be there, as well as 2 van drivers. So we have 1 staff driver on Saturday, September 24th. That would be Patricia Babin, as well as a van driver. And on Sunday, it will be Cynthia Willis, as well as another van driver.
Alex?
So this would be with the senior center's own vans and not the WRTA vans?
Correct.
So are we providing transportation? Are we able to pick up seniors from either Francis Gardens or the senior
It is.
towers if they need transportation?
So that's my understanding, that people just still have to call.
Right.
But again, that's completely run by Maria Smith. This is
Okay.
not a council on aging department.
But is
event.
it being funded by the council?
No. Nope. The Spirit of Shrewsbury is funding the transportation assistance that happens that weekend.
All right, so I guess that was my request.
I think I have it written here somewhere. Maria said that the Spirit of Shrewsbury handles the cost of Saturday, but she said not Sunday.
So it is my understanding with our agreement that it is both the days.
Okay.
And the reason being, and I have had this conversation with Maria, is that my staff needs to be at the senior center Monday through Friday. So anything that takes them out of the senior center Monday through Friday, we work through any other entity that requests our services. So this would be actually overtime for them.
So in the past, my understanding is it has been funded by the council. Is that correct?
It may be perhaps in the past before my time, but now it is not funded by the Council on Aging. This is not within our budget area. This is not something that we have budgeted for the year. And as I mentioned, anything that comes outside of the Council on Aging Department or the Senior Center is expected to be budgeted through whatever entity it comes through, just as we assisted with the Parks and Recreation for Labor Day and Memorial Day.
Alex?
So we have a rate that covers the fully allocated or the total operating cost of the van and the drivers?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, and then what we will do is we will invoice the Spirit of Shrewsbury or the Friends of, whichever that falls under.
I'm sorry, you said you would reimburse?
No.
Invoice.
They will
Oh.
get reimbursed.
Invoice.
So we initially have to make the payment, and then we send an invoice to show what the payment was for that particular time,
Okay.
for both the
Is there-
driver and the
is there
staff
any-
person.
Is there any money in any of either the transportation budget or one of the other accounts that could fund this transportation for Sunday, if it's been past practice?
So again, past practice is before my time, and what I have worked out with the town and Human Resources is that any entity that we provide outside transportation to would be responsible for the cost of that transportation.
I'm just concerned because the Friends are really part of the council, and it seems kind of inconsistent to charge them for something that they're doing for us.
But again, this isn't so much a Friends of Senior Center event. This is a Spirit of Shrewsbury event.
Are we talking about, are we talking about just the cost of the van transportation or just all the food that will be served, the
The
entertainment?
van.
Just the van? And how many people are we expecting?
So if I might, so to have our, a staff member out of the office and a van driver off, because the van drivers are only supposed to work 18 hours a week. This is considered overtime for both of those, for all of those employees, which we have not budgeted for. And particularly, it's not about where we have the funds available. It's the resources that we're allowing to happen for outside events. And I understand, Jean, your comment about it being the Friends of the Senior Center, but I also believe that the Friends of the Senior Center also have their funds appropriated for specific events that happen like this also.
So just out of curiosity, if in fact this needs to be budgeted, could a request be put in for next year's budget?
Well, it's certainly a discussion that we can have. So, like I said, in past practices, in the last couple of years, when we've helped out the Yuletide in the center of town, or Parks and Recreation for, memorial or veteran events, typically those outside resources compensate us for our workers that work outside of their regular hours, because otherwise that would mean that we have to pull them either up from a Monday or through Friday shift. And as you're all aware, we work with 6 people, for 2 of which are part-time. So that really makes it difficult for us.
Okay. Are there any other comments or questions for Jerry or around this issue?
I'm sorry, so the Sunday part is, what is going on that day again?
That is the Friends of the Senior Center Tea event that happens under the Spirit of Shrewsbury.
So there's a tent put up in front of the senior center.
Right.
For the seniors to view the parade.
Not in front of the senior center, in front of the town
Town
hall.
hall.
Yep.
On the parade route.
Right.
And then they come back to the senior center for tea, luncheon/tea. And it's been something that's been consistent over the past several years.
Well, and I think it is aligned with our mission as far as in keeping with some of the other events that we do and we fund. So I'm not so concerned with past practices, whether it's aligned with what we're trying to accomplish here. So I would tend to be in favor of it unless there were a legal reason not to.
If you might, it's not about past practices. It's about how we run our transportation portion out of our senior center. So again, the people that are coming in on the Saturday and Sunday would prefer to be compensated for the extra time. Otherwise, they are taken out of the senior center Monday through Friday, that we just don't have enough staff to allow that to happen. And that is why it's so important that we keep our staff, keeping on their schedule and allow them overtime. Normally, we do not allow overtime.
And when you say overtime, do you mean just additional pay, or do you mean time and a half overtime? I
So-
assume you mean additional pay.
So for one employee, it would be time and a half. For our van drivers, again, they're hired at part-time staff. They're not supposed to work over 18 hours unless there is a specific reason why they're doing so. And it cannot be something that happens habitually, because otherwise the town will be audited.
Lori?
So, from a management standpoint and from personnel standpoint, I can fully understand this. And you budget for a certain amount, and you have to coordinate with the town for employees. So I fully understand that it's not budgeted here for this particular event or for this year. if we need to do something different, I think we need to address it at a different time. But for now, I think that it just makes sense because we only have so many people at any given time to be able to do the work, just the regular work during the week. Anytime you're going to go above and beyond, you really need to be able to know where those funds are coming from, whether it's from friends or whether it's from someplace else. But it's a budget. You don't want to go outside the budget, right? So I think that when you have a last minute request, unless you have a slush fund that you can pull that from, then you can say that that's okay. I think you need to stick with the budget because you need to be able to understand how the rest of the year is going to work. And also if you have agreements worked out with the town for how you have to handle personnel. So I think it's a nice idea, but if we're not there right now, we need to talk about it later on, from my perspective.
So is that something you would like to put on another agenda at a future date, or do you feel this is not an issue to be addressed at this point?
Me personally, I feel
Well, that's
like
board
this is a last minute request when the budget is already set. And having run a business and having to work with personnel, and you have to be able to meet obligations throughout the year that you've already set, I think that we kind of need to go with what we have right now and for how things have been worked out. And if we do want to do something differently, then yes, I think we should, as a board, talk it over with Holly and figure out if there is flexibility. If not, then I think we probably need to move forward the way that we already have things set up, at least for this year, if it's not budgeted for this year and we don't have a slush fund to be able to pull money from.
I would agree with
Betsy?
Laurie. It's a last-minute request, there's liability involved, et cetera, and I don't think that can be, with a week to go before the event, I think it's a too little, too late kind of a request. And if it's something that we want to address before the budget season, maybe we will, but I don't know that this is the time for that discussion.
Okay.
I agree, and I think it circles back to what you said. And what you both said, we should look at it another time or at budget time, but I certainly don't think we should go above the budget either.
Okay. I don't think we need to, there is no motion, so we don't need to take a vote on that. It was a request that came through the Friends. So there's no motion needed on that item. Was there anything else, Jerry?
No.
All right.
I have to say I've been kind of absent with COVID and a few other things, so I'm not as informed as I should be.
Well, thank you for being here.
You're welcome.
Next on our agenda is review and act on financial reports. Christine?
I was just pulling it up here. So I have attached the budget reports. I'll just go over the cover page with the account totals, and then if anybody has a question about any of the line items, I will answer those after. So as of right now, in the formula grant, we have $95,235.38. The gift fund, we have $19,150.84. The revolving account has $27,784.61. And the general fund has $14,607.46. And again, that's only for operating expenses. Does anybody have a question about any line item in a specific account?
I have a question on the gift account. There is Heart to Home Meals for $445, and that's for the food pantry?
Yes, yep, it says frozen meals for food pantry. So we stock our freezer with frozen meals.
Is that going to be a regular?
It's probably a quarterly expense, maybe 6 months that we do, just to make sure that we have food available. Typically, the frozen food is good for 6 months.
So how frequently will we see this on the gift account?
So quarterly or 6 months between there?
for each line, for each
Yes,
purchase?
this is something that we've done for a couple years now.
Okay, okay. Also, there are multiple items for small amounts on the gift fund for the luncheon and newsletter. What do those?
Those are deposits. People bought jewelry or paid for their ticket for the luncheon. They're under deposits. I think you might be missing the headers because yours is in black and white. So if you notice the two line items, the $445 and the $50 are a little bit more to the left. Those are
Yes.
expenses.
Right.
The other column is all deposits.
But we had more than that number of luncheons. Where did
Most people paid in cash.
Oh, okay. All right. Are there other questions about the budget?
So is the jewelry purchase like, I buy the jewelry from the senior center and then I give the $10 in this case to your fund?
Yep. So actually, one of our volunteers donated a curio cabinet to us, and we used that to sell jewelry, purses, small accessory items. We charge $2 for everything. So no matter what it is, $2 flat fee. We've gotten a lot of donations from the community, which we're very thankful for. So that's just something people can purchase if they like it. And we have jewelry boxes available if you want to buy it as a gift for somebody. So it's been a really, the seniors and patrons of the senior center have had a lot of fun with it.
Oh, thank you.
When does our formula grant begin?
So it runs on a fiscal year. We have not received our actual total, so I do have to say that the amount for the formula grant is estimated based off of what we have typically received, which has been the same over the past few years. It could change this year depending on the census data that they use to allocate the funds, but we won't have that deposit until March. So we spend the money before we get the money.
And under the formula grant, there's a $667 charge for pens and caps. Was that for the health fair?
Yes, so we bought branded pens as well as reusable can covers that all have our logo on them. So we use those for the health fair. We gave away some yesterday at the luncheon. They're just small items to give out marketing.
Okay. Are there other questions on any of the budget items? I would entertain a motion to accept the financial reports.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Yeah.
Opposed?
Aye.
All right, so moved. Renee?
Hi. Renee D'Argento here, Outreach Coordinator. I guess you see on the agenda about the outreach survey, which I reported on last month. Basically, Christine worked up from the survey that wonderful poster board to have at the health fair to, give our residents information. It was reported also in the newsletter last month to make people aware of the survey. And it's a form of marketing for us because when people see the activities, the number of people served, and that sort of thing, it markets the Senior Center and the Council on Aging as a resource, which is really important to us. On the health fair, I think it was pretty successful. All I've had was great feedback from the almost 60 vendors, including town departments, who attended there and had the visitors come. And I'd say that we had somewhere over 200 visitors. Part of the marketing of the health fair and the vendors themselves was to have the visitors either check in at the kiosk, and that was to try to get our numbers up for the kiosk itself for the activities so that we can record the number of residents who are attending activities at the senior center. And there was, there were prizes for that. And each of the vendors either sent a donation in for $50 or in lieu of that gave gift cards. And we used those gift cards for prizes for people who, if they visited every vendor, because we wanted to encourage that, they could hand in their sheet and then be drawn. So we had at least 12 winners of prizes, either with the kiosk check-ins or with the vendor sheets, the people who visited quite a few vendors. And the vendors were really happy about that because that ensured that at least they were getting some visibility at their booths. And they would like to see us hold it again, but it's a big undertaking, and maybe that would be a few years down the road.
Can I say something?
Yes.
I wanted to congratulate you and the staff. What an incredible job. I've put together events like that in the past, and it's overwhelming to get everybody agreed, to get everyone there, to have people bring all the things they're supposed to bring, and you really pulled it off
Thank you.
at
Thank
an
you very
A-plus
much.
level. Good job, Renee. Congratulations.
Thanks. Yeah, and, I mean, and we also had, I have to say, a couple of board members here. We had Jean Campagnello and Laurie Jones help with the parking because the vendors, we needed to save spaces for the visitors, so we had the vendors shuttle back and forth, to the soccer fields, and they checked the vendors in, and so we knew how many of them had checked in and, who was there, and kept everything flowing, so. And of course, we also had our senior center staff and volunteers helping out throughout, and that really made it a success, so.
How, do you know number-wise in terms of the check-ins at the kiosk?
Yeah, so we had 31 check-ins at the kiosk, which I thought was pretty good. I thought we'd have more, given that there would be, prizes for such a simple thing. But it's possible that many of the people had not filled out a membership form or a form for the senior center, and they would had to have done that in order to get their key card. So that could be something that that prevented more people from checking in. However, for the vendors, the vendor check-ins now, people had to visit quite a number of vendors to be put into that drawing, and we had 62 people who turned in their vendor list, and I think that's a really good number for the number of people who attended the fair, who actually visited so many of the vendors. So,
Does anyone have any questions or comments? I think it was an amazing event. I think the energy there was incredible, and just to have the police and the fire departments there, and
that was fun.
public health doing the COVID shots, it was just really, and flu shots.
Yeah.
But I'm concerned that we don't have a way to monitor the numbers that we're getting in. We're speculating.
Mm-hmm.
And I know there were lots of people there because I was there, and I'm just wondering if there might be some way we could think about signing people in or having a check-in or somehow getting the numbers
Yeah.
be
So.
accurate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we had one or two people actually giving out the vendor sheets, and making sure that visitors knew, what to do if they wanted to, participate. So I suppose we could have had counters or something that, that they could have used. That really wasn't the concern, was to really just get exact counts on things.
And I don't mean it
Yeah.
as a concern for the health fair. I'm thinking in general to look at the numbers that we have on a regular basis at the senior center.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Doesn't that impact our funding in some way?
It does, and that's the reason why we had the prizes for check-in at the kiosk. Again, I think we were hoping to get more check-ins, but I believe that because we're bringing probably a lot of newer people to the senior center through this fair, they have not filled out an application for a key card. Hopefully, now that they know that they will do that and come and visit us more often. So it's as much as a fun event for people to attend as marketing to the community what we have.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I was just going to say, I think you reflect on these things once they're over, and when you plan for next year, you look back at lessons learned. And that's one of the things you'll probably think about next year, but for this year, it was a big success.
Thank you. Thank you.
Holly, I think you're next.
So the next one is update on policy and subcommittee, but I'm going to put that right back to you, Jean, if you don't mind talking
So
about
the
that.
subcommittee has been meeting monthly. We have not been able to meet. We did not meet last month because one of our members had COVID. This month, it got rescheduled because we couldn't get the three of us together, but we have rescheduled September meeting for the end of the month. And we're continuing to work on roles and responsibilities of board members, and we're looking at delineating some language for the gift fund that will give us a clearer vision of where that money needs to go and how we should spend it. But the committee does meet on a monthly basis, and hopefully within the next couple of months, we should have something to present to the board. Our town manager has requested that before we vote on anything, he have an opportunity to look at those as that data. And so we can certainly send that to him as, doesn't have to go before the board has an opportunity to see it, but we can't vote on it until at least he has an opportunity to take a look at it and give some feedback on it. So that's where we are with the subcommittee policy.
Yep, so the next one on the agenda is senior center and COA volunteering. However, the board member that had requested this to be on the agenda is not present, so I don't know if anybody has a question or anything to say about the volunteering aspect of it.
I mean, I can talk a little bit about it. I know that Judy had some concerns about the response when she submitted a request for volunteering, and didn't feel as though the opportunity to do what she wanted to do was really available to her because she hadn't heard back and wasn't sure what to do. I had thought about a different way to look at how we use our volunteers. And I thought this is just kind of a draft of something that I felt might make the volunteer program a little bit more focused. That if we could develop a web page and have it on our website on a monthly basis to list all of the volunteer opportunities for the month with a brief description of what it entailed and what the work of each one would, for how long the work of each one would last. That page could list the dates and the times and the length of each experience, and it could also identify how many volunteers were needed for that specific event. Then there could be an online sheet where people could just click and say, I'd like to do it on this date and this time. And it would facilitate the whole volunteer experience. I would probably have to have someone create the page and be available to look at it to get the get the input from everyone that's asking to volunteer. It's just an option for, go ahead.
So, as the volunteer coordinator for the senior center, I have that already.
Awesome.
We have a web page for both the senior tax work-off program where I post opportunities for the year, as well as current openings for volunteering at the senior center, not as part of the senior tax work-off program. We did previously have an online form where people could send me their contact information and that they were interested in their availability, what their special skills were. I did recently take that down because I did not get a big response through that. I have found that the best way to get volunteers is through face-to-face contact. We do advertise when we need volunteers. I had talked with Renee, and she had come up with a list of the volunteers that she needed. And I know that discussions were had with the volunteers currently already at the senior center if they wanted to volunteer. As far as with Judy specifically, we had reached out to her. It's not that she sent us an email and it went off to Neverland. We did respond, said, okay, great, we'll be in touch. And with the overwhelming planning and process and everything like that, things just kind of moved very quickly. So in terms of following up with volunteers, that is something that I do frequently. We're constantly bringing in new volunteers for not just us, but for Elder Services for the Meals on Wheels program, which is not necessarily our responsibility, but I advocate for them because I know that they need the staff, as you know, as you work for them. So I appreciate your suggestion. It is something that we are already doing.
But how many people are aware of that? I wasn't aware of it. I didn't know that I could just go online and maybe we should just put that into the newsletter and let people know.
I have put it in the newsletter many times. If you look at some of the past editions, maybe over the summer, some of the spring, we were advertising for receptionists. We were advertising for Meals on Wheels kitchen staff and drivers. I put it in a few months at a time. We didn't get a lot of interest in those positions. So we have kind of shifted focus from relying on those methods to using our current volunteers to recruit new volunteers. So one of our current receptionists actually brought her friend along, and it isn't available to do a reoccurring shift as a receptionist, but she is more than willing to help us as a fill-in if we need someone to cover a shift if somebody's going out or is on vacation. So that has been something that I've leaned into heavily, just word of mouth and trying to bring people in that way because it's been more responsive.
Okay. Oh, Betsy had a question before. Go ahead.
No, it actually is a moot point at this point. It just sounded, what you were suggesting sounded like an enormous amount of work for an already overwhelmed staff, and that was going to be just the concern I would express.
Okay. Holly.
Well, so I know that constantly people are asking us, how are you going to reach this person? How are you going to reach that person? And on some line, we can only reach out to the people that want us to reach out to because we do a tremendous amount of work on our marketing. You know, I know that Arun and Minu, I had showed you the cards that we send out to people constantly. As soon as they approach us, we send them a thank you card, a birthday card, a donation card, all of those things. We do the 2,500 printed newsletters, 16 pages, are we 20 now?
20 now.
20 now, 20-page newsletter in color. We put those in hotspots. We have our website. We have our social media. Word of mouth is giant. But sometimes it is up to the community to find us when they're available, if they want to come and if they're able to participate in anything that we do. We use the marketing on our vans. The health fair, they have, so now all of these people are on our newsletter mailing list. So when they see something that might come up, that we're offering, they can share it with, the people that they're working with. I don't know that there is much more that we can do except that continue to do it, and hopefully new people will come aboard as we can. So unless anybody, and obviously anybody at all, has other ideas on how to reach the community, because we also have over 200 people on our Meals on Wheels that we send flyers out when applicable for our Meals on Wheels recipients. So I feel as though the Council on Aging Department and the Senior Center has been doing an amazing job trying to get the word out, but at the end of the day, sometimes the community has to come and find us also.
Alex.
So I'm looking at your outreach survey, the Council on Aging outreach survey, and This isn't exactly on point. Well, it is, I guess. It says how people receive news or consume entertainment. The overwhelming majority avail themselves of multiple sources, 15% internet, and I guess it's 15% email, 15%. Is that how these stat
Most
is?
likely, yes, yep.
So internet, email, newspapers, TV, family, friends, and then 10% radio, library, magazines. The point is, it's a number of sources, pretty equally spread, so you really kind of do
You have
need
to
a
be everywhere.
shotgun approach, it seems, unless you target people as you do using the cards or,
So
or
if-
people step forward.
Right, so if there are particular people, like if we're gonna have a particular event, so for instance, on November 10th, we're planning to have the Veterans Luncheon. So for that one, my goal to where we're getting the word out is going to, veer to the left a little bit. We'll be using the Veterans Agent, we'll be using, the veteran shelters and things like that, so they know that they can come and participate for those things. So it's all about trying to find the correct audience, but using what we have available. So we're trying to build, and I think the health fair was a really good stepping stone. We're trying to build our partnership so other people will share the fantastic things that we're doing. But at the end of the day, if people don't want to call us or anything like that, it's still hard to find those people. We've been trying to work with students over the past couple of years. Students, they have the summer available and they want things going on. Unfortunately, we don't always have something available. So if we don't have something, we work with the library. If the library doesn't have something, we work with St. Anne's. So it's a circle of us all trying to support other departments, other partnerships, and other things going on. But again, a lot of the responsibility does fall on the community to come and find us also.
Yeah, and if I could say, I think with the health fair, the fact that we had so many vendors and people coming through and seeing them, it's going to be kind of circular because I get calls from partners who might say, well, gee, I have, a Shrewsbury resident who needs this, and can you help with that? So I think, by reaching out with these partners and, showcasing them, that it's also going to come back to us when they get Shrewsbury residents who need help with other things, so.
Christine, do you have a database of volunteers?
So I do record their information. I have a lot of paper forms because I have to fill out a query on every volunteer. Depending on what they do, their information is stored in different places. Especially for our receptionist, Donna is kind of my receptionist manager, if you want to put it that way. She works really great with them. They all adore her, as everyone should. She's lovely. And so she works primarily with the receptionist, and I assist and oversee that. But as far as the just people that come into the senior center for different things, I have their documentation. All of the friends have been Corey checked, the board members, because they volunteer for the senior center. I do not have the information for the Meals on Wheels volunteers because that does not fall under me.
Right. I'm just thinking if there were an occasion such as the health fair when you need a lot of volunteers to send out something to your database. People that are already registered as volunteers, suggesting if they want to put some extra energy into volunteering this month, this is what we need.
So I have found primarily the newsletter is the best way to do that, or just talking with people because they're always at the senior center. Typically, our volunteers are there as often, maybe sometimes more than some of the staff. So the newsletter, the website, primary channels, if not word of mouth is typically my favorite route to go because no one gossips like a senior.
Any other comments about
Just,
yes?
just an observation, right? I think at some point over last summer or a few summers ago, we were looking for volunteering opportunities for my kids. And again, didn't come across this, didn't know that this avenue was available. So if we could kind of, ideas, I think maybe look at the website, or even each of us could be ambassadors, right? Maybe if you have printed material, if you meet someone, we could hand it over. Maybe we could brainstorm about other avenues to kind of get the word out. So hey, here's an avenue for you to go try out, help others, and volunteer and contribute to the community.
Thank you. Good idea.
Okay.
All right.
Number 3, 22nd Senior Celebration, that happened yesterday, and then I'll go into the Think Ahead program for next week. Excuse me. So the 22nd Senior Celebration happened yesterday. We had the meals not given to us, but delivered to us from Peppercorns in Worcester. Those that joined were able to make a choice of a pot roast or a pasta primavera. Started with a salad. I am having a coughing fit. Can you?
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Give her a second. So, as Holly was saying, Peppercorns catered. We had pasta primavera or pot roast. It was a great success. We couldn't have been happier with how everything turned out. We had the town manager presented one of our former board members with a special plaque that Jean, I think you coordinated that. And the Friends also awarded her Louise Russell, longtime board member, longtime resident of Shrewsbury, who's committed her service to the community in many different ways. We also had the Assabet Valley Chamber Singers, do a very, very phenomenal performance. I think everybody truly enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun, and we had our, once again, very dedicated volunteers that helped us. We were serving, plating the food in the kitchen, and then several of our volunteers were out delivering the plates to tables, helping clean up, get people the sides that they needed, wrapping up some leftovers if people wanted to take them home. And we also had cupcakes, and we got sunflowers from Danielson's, which is always fun. Nice little touch on the tables. So it was a really great event. And I hope those of you that were able to make it really enjoyed it and got to see or celebrate with us the 22 years of the Senior Center.
It was a great event. It was executed to perfection.
I agree.
Oh, thank you.
And Christine, you definitely look like a mother caring for thousands of kids.
Thank you. Do you want to continue? Or are you good now?
Unless somebody else needs something for the 22nd celebration, because I didn't hear what you said. I'm sorry. So going on, so our next event that we're celebrating under the month of September for the Spirit of Shrewsbury is the Think Ahead. And so that is next Thursday at 6 to 9. We are offering transportation for those that need it, so we'll be working outside of the regular business hours. So the Think Ahead program is, the concept behind this was to actually start educating the community on what it means to get older, basically. So we have AARP coming. They'll be presenting for 45 minutes. We have the Shine from Milford coming. They'll also be presenting for 45 minutes, as well as ESWA. They're not doing one item specific. They're going to talk about exactly kind of in a nutshell what they do as a whole, because the people that will be attending, everybody needs something a little bit different. So what we're trying to do is really educate people before they turn 60, 64, to make them understand that there are different insurance needs that they need to go forward. Perhaps one of them will be talking about furthering their education into their senior adulthood. So there's, as I said, there's 3 of the vendors that will be speaking. So it is from 6 to 9. Shrewsbury Nursing Home is supplying the dessert tables that will be there, as well as we'll have some other light refreshments, the cheese and crackers, as we've done at the rest of the other events throughout September. So we're hoping for a big amount, but if not, we are videotaping the event that we will air. And what we've also decided to start doing with these things is So when we videotape the 922 event, we'll show it in October also at the senior center. So we'll offer an afternoon where people can come in who might not have been able to make that 6 to 9 event and come in and be able to watch it during the day. One of the reasons why we chose 6 to 9 is because there are so many working seniors. There's people taking care of their grandparents or parents or whatever the case might be. So what we wanted to do was kind of go outside of our regular business hours and offer an event. We'll see how many people show up, but at the end of the day, if nobody does, we're still recording the event. It's still important to us. We'll still show it on our website, and we'll still push forward. And we are supporting AARP, Shine, and ESWA at the same time.
Do you
Can
have
I-
any indication of people
So
saying they would be coming, or?
So typically, I frown on taking a lot of registrations prior to an event, and the reason being is if you put a RSVP date, let's just say it's today, and somebody forgets about it, most times people will not show up because they think that they're not allowed to. So normally I don't do a registration. What we're just doing is we're pushing. So what you'll end up seeing this afternoon is we actually had yard signs made up that we're going to be putting around through the town as a reminder that we're doing this. We've also pushed it through the school system. So it has already gone out through the school system, emails, who else?
The school bulletin, the town Facebook page, our Facebook page, anybody with an outlet, we've sent it to. But I do also want to add, obviously, the senior center is the one that's hosting this event, but this isn't just a senior event. This is really for anybody, as much as we don't like to think about getting older, who is approaching this new chapter of their lives. And so a senior, Shrewsbury considers anybody 60 and over seniors, but once you hit 60, there's a lot of things that happen. And you're eligible for a lot of things in kind of rapid succession, and it can be very overwhelming. So the purpose of this, and Holly put a lot of thought into how do we prepare this next kind of set of people to ease them into this new chapter of their lives, and to at least let them know the services that we provide, that the community provides, and let them know that it doesn't need to be this overwhelming process, and that we're here for them, and we can hold their hand through this and get them what they need.
And if I might add, I turned 50 on Saturday, and I cannot wait to be an AARP member because I want the savings. So
Trust
you
me,
can.
it's not a lot of fun.
You know what? If I can save a dime, I'm the most frugal person anybody will meet. But so it's about those things, and it's about, I wake up in the morning and my eyes open, and I feel like I'm 25, but I know that I'm not, and that there are things outside resources that support me not being 25 anymore. So, in working for the Council on Aging and the Senior Center, my goal is to take away the stereotype of aging. And obviously I'm not going to get it in my lifetime, but if I can just convince people that it's okay and embrace it, because we don't have the magic to turn back time. So I figured working with these partnerships and to educate of the things that they do assist people, ultimately I think everybody uses one resource or another, and it's just nice to have that information in front of us.
I was thinking of a suggestion, because we keep thinking of the ways to pull the seniors into the events. Nowadays, WhatsApp is very heavily used.
WhatsApp?
WhatsApp.
Oh, WhatsApp app.
WhatsApp or WhatsApp,
WhatsApp
right?
app, yep.
WhatsApp is used very heavily, and I know it is one of the medium that people hop on frequently as you go on YouTubes and all. They keep checking their messages, and we have around 9,000 seniors. And I know WhatsApp has a limitation; you can only have certain number of users. But if we can create a couple of those groups, and of all the seniors in them, and just push out the messages on them, and it can be a very alive conversation and suggestion directly from the seniors themselves.
I think that's great. I appreciate that suggestion. I hadn't even thought about that, but yeah, absolutely. Anything else? Thank you, Mina. So going forward, so number 4, transportation update. So I'm just going to pull up the transportation form. This is created by Cynthia Willis. She is our transportation coordinator. So you can see the FY22 trips for, so the COA, what the COA, the RTA vans do, the 2 COA vans do, the total number of trips. We offer rides specifically to the Shrewsbury Housing Authority because we have a contract with them. So they assist us in our funding and our revenues for the town of Shrewsbury. Does anybody have any questions on any of the FY22 trips? And you might have seen that I sent out an email stating because we were seeing COVID cases going up. I did talk with Town Manager Kevin Mizikar, and we made it mandatory that our van drivers wear a mask as well as the riders. The transportation is one of the most important services that we offer out of the senior center, so I wanted to make sure that our van drivers are safe. Are there any questions on the trips?
So yes, I'm sorry, Alex.
So there was a big bump in ridership in August. The highest by, well, close to the, actually the highest of the last 14 months. Was there something odd going on, or just people are coming back after post-pandemic?
So what we found is that more people leave earlier in the summer and then come back again. So August is one of the busiest months that we have as far as transportation. And what we've been trying to do also is increase the opportunities of places for the seniors to go to. So our vans have been out more so than what they've been in the last couple of years.
And we're still within budget if this keeps up?
Oh, yes, so our revolving account assists us with our COA vans. So whatever our budget was for the revolving account, that helps pay for our COA vans. And then we still have the monies for the general fund that pays for the WRTA, which the WRTA we are also in contract for, and they assist us in paying for our van drivers. And they take care of all the maintenance of the vehicles too.
So are we within budget with all of these?
Absolutely.
And is there a cap on it?
No. No, so we're allowed to use if we end up having an overflow for any reason, we're allowed to use formula grant funds for that too. But with the 4 vans, 2 are paid out of the revolving account and 2 are paid out of the general fund. So we monitor those and make sure that we're staying within the means. And again, this is kind of one of the things that we do behind the scenes, is to make sure if we see that we're coming towards the end of the fiscal year and are we not going to have enough funds, that's where we can go into the formula grant. But we've never, since I've been here, we've never even come close.
Okay.
If I can, I just want to elaborate just a little bit on that. So when Holly and I work on the budget specifically for the salaries for the van drivers, because they're part-time, it means that their hours fluctuate. So when we allocate money, we do the math as if all 4 vans are going to go out all day. At the time when we did the budget, we knew that that was not how we were actually operating. It was kind of, this is the maximum amount of money that we would spend if the vans were out all of the time. So as our trips have increased, as Alex noticed, and as we've offered more shopping trips and things in town for seniors, we are getting closer to that number that we budgeted. We'll still come in under because of how this fiscal year started, but we will be closer than we have in the past.
So getting back to that original discussion we had about the vans for the Spirit of Shrewsbury, if the Friends put in a request for this particular van usage for that event, could that be included in the budget?
If we have enough notice, that's something that could be factored in.
Okay.
Yeah, I also would have to talk to town manager's office about about that also, because it's not only just the Friends in the Spirit of Shrewsbury that comes forward, it's many entities that come and ask. You know, we try to help out Benchmark, we tried to help out Orchard Grove, so, and they all know that our transportation services are available, and I never want to deny anybody. So there always has to be a plan B. And it is something that I have to talk to the town managers. So just as it has happened in the past, I'm not sure that it happened correctly. So I want to make sure going forward, if this is something that we're going to pick up. And again, my biggest concern is our office not being short. We can't operate if we're short. That's my biggest concern. It's really not about the funding. It's about if we, because we can normally find enough if we don't go over the amount of people that we accept.
So I think this hasn't come up as a discussion in the past because I don't report payroll as part of the budget report because payroll kind of is what it is. I disclose the operating expenses because that fluctuates and it changes. We ask for a certain amount, but depending on what we spend on it, it might not even out. But so as far as payroll goes, and for the things that Holly mentioned earlier, specifically the Yuletide and the veterans, we're doing those for other town departments. So when I plug in payroll for those specific hours used for those events, I can plug in the accounts for those town departments. So we work it out. It's all done behind the scenes. Where the Spirit of Shrewsbury is a town committee, but it's not a town department, I don't have that account that I can put those hours in. So that's why it has to be invoiced. That's why it's a few more steps that makes it that much more complicated.
Well, and if I might, keeping in consideration that we have 2 part-time employees, so their retirement, if they go over the hours, they can actually be reprimanded for that, and we rely heavily on our 2 part-time, Donna Messier and Pat Babin, to assist us on outside events when these kind of things happen. And the last thing I want to do is impede on their retirement, the money coming back in. And not to mention, so one of the first things that I tried to do when I started here back in January 2020 was, when I came in, many of the employees, and of course we have new ones sitting with us today, had hours and hours and hours of accrued time, and there was nothing I could do except for try to work with ways to get them compensated for all of the hours that they did over what they were expected. Now, if we continue to let that happen, I don't have staff in the building. So what I've expressed to the staff is, before you know that you're going to accrue time, it has to be okayed through me, because it's so important that Monday through Friday we're able to operate as we normally do, with being, again, staff of 6, 2 part-timers. So it's been, that's just something that I don't want to lose control of, because as soon as we do, then we can't move forward with the things that we want to do, the 22nd celebration, the think ahead, and things like that. So it's really important that, so behind the scenes, that we stay focused on what our staff mission is, and that is to make sure that we're here every single day and have enough people present. So it's not so much about the money or the budget, although it is a factor. It's also making sure that people are accountable for where they need to be. So going forward, our next one, I'm just sorry, I'm going to pull this up, is our MCOA Fall Conference registration for board members. So our MCOA Fall Conference is happening in October. I believe the dates were 18, 19, 20, something like that. Or 19, 20, 21. Right now, we don't have anybody from Shrewsbury going, just because the dates aren't working out for people. That includes board members, but I did want to put it on the agenda for one more time. Minu and Arun, if you're interested, I can send you the link, so you can just take a look at it. It's held at the Cape Cod. And I think that's one of the difficulties too, is that it's not just an easy day drive, and it happens over more than 3 days, and it's a lot of requirement coming from anybody that participates. But unfortunately this year, board members and staff alike just have not been able to have that time away to go. But I'd be happy to share that with you, just so you can take a look at it. And then if you're interested, please let me know, and I can assist you if you're interested in registering. But I will give the MCOA, regardless, some feedback that I've received, both from the staff and from the board, about why we're not going to be there. So I will send that off to you.
Alex, I thought you were attending.
I was going to, but logistically, we had to move our wedding anniversary trip to that week from the previous week, so.
And that's more
You know,
important.
That's right.
You have to have
I would really have
priorities.
liked to have gone, but next year.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so number 6 is Joy for All Companion Pets. And before I start talking about the Joy for All Companion Pets, I don't know if you want to pull them over here while we're talking. But a couple of years ago, we started thinking about different ways to provide outreach to people that are isolated, at home, lonely. Yeah, that's fine. So we did microwaves. We did microwaves
I'm good,
for.
thanks.
No, you can just leave it. Yeah, I'm just going to present them. That's okay. So a couple of years ago, we did microwaves specifically for our clients that are on Meals on Wheels, making sure that they had appropriate ways to heat up their food. Then last year, we did air conditioners to try to make sure that at least everybody in Shrewsbury that we could get a hold of, 60 and over, had at least one cooling spot in their home, so we gave away the air conditioning. So, surprisingly enough, we've been working with our memory care, our memory cafe program, and we've been working with the facilitators that came in. And I don't know, some of you might know, but I used to be an Alzheimer's director. So one of the things that has always helped people, especially caregivers, just buy a couple of minutes of free time, being able to go to the bathroom or cook their own lunch, but as well as offering dementia residents or those who have recently had a stroke or something like that, another companion without a lot of care. So months ago, we have researched what are some things that are available, and my staff and I came up across these Joy for All Companion Pets, and some of you may have seen them. So the cat meows if you pet her, and she moves, and she does those kind of things. And I won't keep her going. The puppy does the same things. They roll over, he raises his paw.
Purring.
Yep, she's purring. She's happy right now.
They're right.
So we started displaying these out in the lobby area just to see what kind of reaction we would get from the folks that came in. And the reaction was overwhelming. To the point where people that I wouldn't have expected to react so fondly to these animals as they did. And I believe it was one of the first ones that was requested as a prize from, as a giveaway for the health fair. Yeah. And so these guys live with us. They're for the memory care program. So, and it helps when people start to get agitated. Lonely. We had a winner, so the check-in winner for the month of August, the recipient, was actually using it for her son, who was a stroke victim, to lay on his stomach while he was, at home. So one of the things that I wanted to ask the board, because they certainly do not come cheap, but we have many, many visitors that, like I said, have taken to these guys beyond what I actually thought would actually happen. So actually, if you don't mind, I'm going to give you the financial part of this part.
Sure. So typically, and I did send everybody a handout that we put together just to kind of go over some of the information about how these work and what their real purpose is. But at the bottom, I did put the price of each one. So at the time that I put this together, the cats are $125. The dogs range, there's 2 different versions of the dog. I'm not sure why they're different prices, but they're $130 and $140. So the idea was to purchase some of these. We can purchase them in bulk from the manufacturer for a discounted price. And we were just kind of throwing around some numbers, trying to figure out how many is worth purchasing, how many people are actually want to take this home and to utilize this. So just kind of a number to throw out was to buy 20 dogs and 20 cats. So that would come out to about just under $4,700 for the 40 animals
Out of what budget line?
out of the formula grant. So the cats come in 3 different colors. There's the orange tabby. They have a black tuxedo and a silver cat, and then the dog. This is the freckled puppy, and then they also have one that looks like a yellow lab. So we could get a variety. I know the tuxedo is a really great one for people who might be visually impaired. The other colors kind of tend to meld together. So these, like Holly said, have been a really interesting experiment at the senior center. We were not expecting the response, so we really want to jump on this opportunity of people's interest in these items, recognizing that they are so great for people with dementia and Alzheimer's, but even just people who are at home and lonely and maybe not having the capacity to take care of a live animal. So we would love to purchase a number of these through the manufacturer.
And the determination as to, you would be sending these home with individuals, is that the
So if I can.
intent?
So our intent first, the first population that we're intending to share, if we move forward with this, would be the Meals on Wheels clients, because many of them already live at home. So we would deliver them or have the Meals on Wheels drivers bring them along on their route and drop them off to whoever did actually request one. Then from there, we would have a sign-up sheet for the senior center. What's that?
The memory cafe.
Oh, in the Memory Cafe, yes, in the Memory Cafe. Like I said, these guys live with us, so these guys come out for our Memory Cafe, but there are some family members that have requested, but of course, with the hefty price tag, they're not able to afford it themselves. So with the fact that our formula grant, where we have that much money left over, and I really do not want to have formula grant money transferring over to the following year, because I do not want the state of Massachusetts saying Shrewsbury does not need it, because that is not the truth. That is not how I want to proceed. But this is one of those outreach purposes that I would like to move forward with, because like I said, the overwhelming response that we've received from them. I know that.
Lori?
So I'm going to probably repeat part of what you just said. My understanding is, because I was going to ask about criteria.
Mhm.
So the first group would be those for Meals on Wheels,
Mhm.
if they wanted them. The second would be people in and part of the Memory Cafe. Where would you go after that? If you had a certain number of them, would it be lottery or first come, first serve?
So
Or?
we would probably put up a sign-up sheet. The things that we have heard, and I will say this, we have heard some people say, like, I don't know if I want it for myself or I'm going to give it to my grandkid. That's not what I want to hear. So that is not something that we would move forward going through. So I almost think that we'd ask a couple of questions before we just say, okay, somebody, you can have this. Because I don't want it to be a Christmas present. I want it to be an outreach present, is what I want it to be.
Renee?
Yeah, so I would like to see us have a question, are you a caregiver?
Uh-huh.
Because I think that, for caregivers, it would be you would identify people who are caregiving for people with Alzheimer's or related dementia
So
would be
I
really.
think that question would have to be specific. Are you a caregiver for dementia?
Well, it could also
Because
be others too. I mean, like, the stroke victim, the son, and, but,
On
yeah.
that survey, many of the answers were, I'm a caregiver for my grandchildren.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And I think that's what you're trying to avoid.
Right.
Yep,
Mhm.
yep, that's true.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Other questions, comments? Yes,
Do
Ira?
we have any kind of studies or some pilot program where we know how long they use it? And again, I hope I'm not coming across in a narrow manner here. Could this be viewed as more like a toy where someone is fascinated with it for a few days and after that they don't touch it anymore? How do we know that it's being continually used?
Right, so something about dementia residents and Alzheimer's residents, they definitely have an attention span that need to be altered with something else. But also remember, sometimes for most of them, or a lot of them, every day is a new day. So for them, waking up and taking care of the pet and So again, when I worked as an Alzheimer's director, what would happen is the first thing they would do is they'd go grab it and they would pet it and they would, hold it forever and ever and ever, but then they go back to it because the unfortunately, just the memory is impaired at that point. So as far as doing studies, the studies have already been done by people that create these things, which I'm sure we could go and find. But I also want to support, so the library also has a great memory cafe that works also. And my goal is for us to work together so we're not duplicating, the amount of work that we're doing each time. So we do not have to buy 20 cats and 20 dogs. We don't need to go that far. We can start with a smaller amount, but know that, that they are less expensive in the bulk process. And I'm not saying if we buy 40, I'm gonna get rid of 40 next month. It's not like me being like Oprah, everybody gets a cat, everybody gets a dog.
But we do have a lot of Meals on Wheels recipients, and we
Right.
do have a good number of people, up to 20, who attend
Right.
the Memory Cafe at the senior center, and I don't know how many at the library.
Perhaps
but-
we could do a trial, maybe order half of what you had originally anticipated and start with the Memory Cafe and with the Meals on Wheels and see what the response is.
So my thought was I wasn't actually going to order any until people respond back to us to see who wanted what, see how many people
Okay.
actually came back. Because what I don't want to do is order 50 and only 10 people want them. I don't think that is going to be the case, to be honest. But I definitely am not going to go put a bulk order out without people actually specifying that they're interested.
So can we put this on hold for a
It'll probably wait
meeting
till
at which
November.
time you get the information and the data that you need
Yep.
before we make a decision?
Yes, but like I said, I wanted to bring it to the board's attention because this is something that we have actually seen and were surprised about how many people related to these pets. And, these are independent people that are coming to the senior center and they're still fascinated by them. And and don't get me wrong, only a couple have ever said, I'd give it to my grandkid. But there are people that are just like amazed by this. And then we actually have to keep an eye on them because they will walk throughout the senior center and we just want to make sure these guys come back to us. So I did just want to educate the board in the Joy for All companion pets, and perhaps this is something that we do for an outreach going, for this particular fiscal year.
Gloria.
I'm sorry, Lori.
I think that having watched what my mother and my grandparents went through with pets, one of the things that always worried me was whether or not the pet would trip them and they would fall and get hurt. This is one way you don't have to worry about that, and especially if it gives them joy. I think that's a really simple and nice way and a good use of money and not losing money for a grant that we would like to see replenished in the future. I think it would be nice to know that there would be takers who might be interested waiting until next month, but I really like the idea.
Me too.
Okay, good. So we'll wait to hear next. Alex?
Yeah, I'm certainly aware of how effective pet therapy is with real pets in nursing homes and so on, and I do like the idea. Do we need to just give them away for free? I mean, would there be more, I don't know, buy-in or some such if there was a cost for it, or does that not make sense?
So let me give you a for instance. So we had the 22nd celebration yesterday, and we were asking for $10 a ticket, and we had appropriated for 100 people, and we got half of that for $10. And one of the questions that was asked to me was, if people come to you and say, I can't pay the $10, can I come to the celebration? My response was, we offer many, many programs throughout the year that are actually free. I don't think that people have the type of money that these go for. In which case, like I said, the fact that we have the formula grant, and if we do our homework beforehand, before purchasing them, and like I said, just because we buy 50 doesn't mean I give all 50 out. Maybe it's just some, and we wait until we get new people that come into our memory cafe or something like that. But just to have them available, because they could actually bring a smile, but I don't think people have these kind of funds. I think if people do have that extra money, they're probably buying food or some other kind of care, where this is something this is part of the outreach that I want the town of Shrewsbury to be known for thinking outside of the box and for, thinking about everybody. So, like I said, microwave, air conditioners, joy for all companion pets.
All right, so we'll hear more about that at our next
Yes.
meeting. Is there any new business that anyone would like to present? Renee, I just have a question for you. This is not new business, but when we got responses on the survey and the numbers of people that were that were receiving the newsletter, how many of them requested to have it online versus mailed? Do you have that data?
I think I could get that data.
I'm just curious as to how we move forward in marketing and advertising, whether
Yeah,
that
many,
many people are using.
anecdotally, many people said that they already received the newsletter. Some people said that they do get it online. And I did have a lot of requests for mail, a lot of requests.
regular mail,
Yep,
not email.
that's right.
And if I might, one of the reasons being is many people, like for instance, take the menu out of the newsletter and
Oh,
they
yeah.
put it on their refrigerator, or they'll cut out a particular event that's happening and they'll put it on the refrigerator. So a lot of them like that, and this is the population that likes that tangible thing. I mean, I still carry a notebook and a laptop, so it's, having both of those things.
Mm-hmm,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Alex?
I did get a chance to look through the survey results, and it's a lot of pretty impressive data, even though there's not that much on the page, but still, there's a lot to draw some good conclusions from. So thanks for pulling that together. I know that was a lot of work, but it's very helpful.
Thank you.
Is there more data available than just what's in this?
Yeah, so now that we're done with the health fair, which took up a lot of time, what I'd like to do is go over the comments that we solicited to see what were the common elements that people are, requesting or talking about, and positives, negatives, all that sort of stuff, just to gather more information and how we can, do better with our outreach. So,
And then a second comment on a separate subject, the event statistics. I think I had asked for this also in the past, and so I appreciate your putting that in this report too. And I wondered, and you don't have to respond now, but if there's any trends you've noticed in the data, or where people, why are people coming here? For example, fitness and exercise is a pretty large group, and that's heartening to see that so many come here for that. Is that increasing, or where are the trends in this?
So fitness is definitely one of our biggest ones because we offer a wide variety of it. And, basically you have to do fitness inside, and it's pretty free of cost. I think a couple of our instructors asked for $3. So $3 versus going to the YMCA or whatever it might be is quite a steal for coming for an hour. And our instructors have gained so much respect because of their constant being here. They don't cancel, they come, they're reliable, they're fun, they're engaging, so they're trustworthy also. And I think that's a giant one, is the fact that it's a constant one. Whereas when we have certain programs that kind of happen once a month or every 2 months, it doesn't have the same kind of effect as the people that are here continuously, because people like that relationship, and I think that's where a lot of it comes from.
Great.
They like their routine, too.
Yeah.
Christine, how difficult would it be to retrieve some data prior to COVID to see whether we're back to where we used to be?
It's not great. I can certainly pull that, but so the categories that we have, we've revamped. So the classes and the programs that were happening pre-COVID might not fall under the same categories. So they're classified differently. So the data will look different, and it'll be hard to compare the two. I can certainly pull
But
some.
maybe even looking at the totals.
So I think that the best number would be the average daily attendance.
Right.
Instead of the category, like
Right.
fitness and things like that. So that's certainly something that I could look into getting you.
If that would be possible, I think it would be interesting to look at that.
Mhm.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yes.
Regarding the fitness classes, is it possible to televise them on the time that they, so other people who are not able to come here?
So some of our fitness classes are actually televised. So I know Karen McKenzie, who does Fit for Life, she actually, prior to even doing the fitness classes at the senior center post-COVID, was working with SMC to broadcast her fitness classes on the public access channel. So those air there. They're also on their YouTube channel. And I post them occasionally on our Facebook page just so people can get to them through a different way.
And Parks and Recreation posts theirs too.
Parks and Recreation posts their videos. We do try to post what we can. It's a little bit more difficult to maybe record everything just because it's not us recording. It's a different entity that has to come in and coordinate that schedule. So, and they have their own studio across town. So typically Karen records there. So logistically, it's a little tough. But there are different options. I believe there is Senior Sweat is also on there. That's not a class that we offer at the senior center, but it's something that's on the public access channel.
Okay.
I think Joe Fish, who teaches our sail class, also has it on the public access channel, but I think that's his Worcester classes that are broadcast, not ours. He teaches at a bunch of different locations.
Right, it's a whole different entity. If somebody wants to do something like that, they actually go through another channel.
Okay. I probably talk more about it offline since
Sure.
my parents, they don't attend any fitness classes. It would help. So, yeah. I'll get more details later.
Sure.
Yeah, thank you.
Does anyone have any old business to address? I do, just one. We had talked last year about a program where we utilized high school students for, I can't remember.
Yahoo.
Yahoo.
What's the status of that?
So I actually just got off of a phone call yesterday with somebody from one of the schools, and they're looking to incorporate students into doing some kind of yard work. So I educated them a little bit about Yahoo, and what she's going to do is she's going to talk to the students kind of about what the program is and see if gauge their excitement, if you will, and then get back to me. So it is something that we tried to do in the fall, or actually in the late spring, early summer, and had only like 2 or 3 students show up. I've still been working with the high school to try to make this happen, but with everything that's been going on, with all of the changes, we have tabled it, but we haven't forgotten about it. So it's still coming up, but it really is, that is a program that is 100% needs to be volunteer run.
Right.
And kind of the responsibility falls under,
I know.
Excuse me.
oh yes, we're definitely over time. I'm sorry. So I can talk more about that next time.
Okay,
Thanks.
very good. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Yeah.
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting is adjourned at 11:03.
Thank you.
Before everybody leaves, we did want to mention something off television, but I'm going to let Christine take it away.
Are we